Alrighty, welcome back to the Troubleshooting Life podcast. This is your host, Jay Peters. Welcome with my wonderful co-host, Craig Poston. What's going on, brother?
What's up, man?
Not much, man.
Yeah, hanging out in Fort Worth right now.
Yeah. Baby girl's got her gymnastics in, right?
Yeah. Except we got the date wrong. I was like doing all that hustling, trying to get away from work, right?
Yeah.
And then my wife was like, "Oh, by the way, it's Sunday." I'm like, "What?" I've been rushing around. We put the dog in the
kennel or something.
The kennel, and boarding and stuff like that. And then, we don't have to rush that much.
Dang, that's too funny. Man. I know, because you were out of there pretty quick too. I was like, all right, easy going. And I was like, I was wondering when it was going to be. But are you taking Monday off because it's on Sunday, or?
I'm not taking Monday off. We're just going to come back right after because I think my wife has to work later on. So as soon as it's finished, we're probably just leaving. So that's why we'll take the day since we don't have the competition today as we thought it would be today. Yeah. So so we'll basically just do it. Hang out today and do different things, see Dallas. We used to live here.
Yeah. I was saying, doesn't she still have family up there or friends or something?
Yeah, she does. Yeah. And a lot of friends because they all went to North Texas.
Gotcha. Yeah. It's like right there.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
That's what's up. Now, how long is the gymnastics through club or what's it through?
I know it's like, we're giving them free advertising. It's River City.
It's
River City in Converse.
Yeah, right there in Converse,
Texas. Yep.
Yeah, right there off of I forgot what that road's called. But yeah.
Yeah, so they have their competition up here. I can see how it can get expensive. Yeah, because if we're gonna travel to these different areas and then you have to pay a fee to get in, to be part of it. Yeah. So
I'd be like, nah, I'm blessing you with my presence. You should pay me to be here.
Yeah.
No, that's too funny, bro.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I'm glad she has something she's interested in.
That's really good.
Yeah, and fortunate to be in a position to afford it. So that's another thing. Yeah,
that's definitely a blessing. To be able to do stuff for the kids. So another topic is, how was your birthday, bro?
It was a birthday. It was to me. It was a good birthday because the whole day to me seemed like it turned out pretty good. So even just at the end of the day, where went to go have a couple of drinks, and then that was it. So I mean, I guess as you get older, you appreciate more of life than you do all the material and all this other stuff.
No, I definitely agree.
So, yeah. Appreciate recognizing that.
Yeah. Oh, because and the reason why I do recognize that is because, for the past few years or so, I don't recognize my own birthday. Or I just treat it like any other day. But then, after listening to different things, like whether it's books or podcasts, right? I should, not for me personally, but for my future, right? I should take the time to celebrate the moments of life, right? Because I don't want that type of mentality of not celebrating a birthday or just thinking it's nothing to carry on to my children and further on, right? I don't want them to feel like their birthday is just like by happenstance or it's just something that just happened, right? I want them to celebrate the life that they had or have, I should say.
Yeah, no, and I do believe that, and I guess the military kind of ruin it a little bit because you could be anywhere and it doesn't matter what day it is. So if it's your birthday, just like I was in Afghanistan for my birthday, I think we had just made it to Afghanistan, and then I mean I think the most important thing that happened to me when I first got to Afghanistan was my daughter. I got sent a video of my daughter walking, and that was, to me, more exciting than my birthday,
Oh,
even though
no
people,
doubt.
wish me happy birthday while I was there. So
Yeah. Well, that's another, celebration of life, right? Well, it necessarily wasn't a celebration of your specific time or life, right? It was a celebration of your legacy and your daughter's life.
yeah. So, but yeah, no, you should, you should take time and reflect and enjoy life. That's what I think. Material things, throwing big parties. I think those are for big celebrities. I think they do that, purposely. But like
Yeah.
us normal everyday people, we need to enjoy life, And yes, you should go and I guess spoil yourself a little bit, if that's your thing, because everyone has their thing or what they like. Some people like to go buy something for themselves. It makes them feel good. Some people like to have a big party. They just want people around them. It's just, different things like that.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, yeah, people celebrate in different ways. So, to each their own, right? But I think one of my favorite stories that I heard, and I forgot the guy's name, is that I think when he was in like his late 20s, maybe early 30s, and he went to the same bar that he went to last year for his birthday, and he was also like looking at the amount of money he had in his pocket or in his bank account, and he realized that he was literally in the same place doing the same job with the same amount of money that he did last year. So from that perspective, he decided to make a drastic change of his life and focus more on growing and stuff. And I thought that was a great use of that day, is to really reassess yourself and what you do.
Yeah, no, actually, and I guess that could go to this point where for your birthday, that could be instead of using New Year's resolution, you could use your birthday as your resolution. So like, set your goal to where it ends on your birthday. So if you hit your goal, it's a great reason to celebrate.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, I might have to do that. Yeah. Mine's in November, so it's kind of close to New Year's. But so
yeah.
Well.
Yeah. So our topic today.
Topic today. Dang, what was it again? It was like, if it doesn't make money, sometimes it makes sense, right? And this is of course one of your topics, and I believe it might have been one of your topics for your book and stuff. But let's kind of get it started. What does that saying in general mean for you?
Yeah, for me, it's one of those things like, how we're always looking to make the money, right? But then it may not be the right situation for you. All right. So if you're making all this money, but it gives you nothing, it's like pretty much where you're a figurehead for something, where you gain nothing but the money from your salary, but you gain no real experience. You gain nothing that you can take on to something else, or in a sense, grow, So if the company isn't a company that allows you to grow, or it's not hitting the goals that you want, so because being at that company might not be your thing. And I think that's kind of where it kind of set with me. So that's why I thought about this title, because a lot of people, we're always looking to make the most money that we can, but then it might not be the right situation. And we have other situations where, like, if you live in a city that's like unsafe, or a city that really doesn't suit your lifestyle or who you are, it probably requires you to go seek employment somewhere else, or create something, which in turn might, because it's the beginning stages, you would have to, take a pay cut. If a certain job is somewhere else, it may be less stress, and you may have to take a pay cut because it is less stress, because the other job was so stressful and it's taking your life slowly. So what's the money's not worth anything if it's taking your life, because how can you enjoy it?
Right. No, and that's a big thing, right? A lot of people focus on money and the monetary value of things. They don't focus on their quality of life, their time, their sanity, and stuff like that. So, and I think this is a great topic, because like we said in maybe the last podcast or a few podcasts before, is that when people say success, we automatically, or a lot of people will automatically assign a dollar amount to that word, right? When they hear success, they hear millionaire, they hear billionaire, they hear all those other accolades. But people may or may not forget that MLK, while he had money, that's not what he was famous for, right? Malcolm X didn't have money and he was famous / successful, right? Gandhi didn't have money, he was successful. Mother Teresa, all these people that were true influencers, right, of their times and still up to this time, we're not in a wealthy state or a legacy like wealth, like how our people now are, right? How Jeff Bezos are, how Elon Musk is, how Bill Gates are, right? So, and I think that's what people see nowadays in success are your top 10, Billboard or 100 top 100 people of wealth. But no, you're correct. The focus shouldn't be money necessarily. I'm not saying you can't reach for money, but it shouldn't be the only thing, right? To well-round it, it should be your quality of life, especially if you have a family, right? Money is not going to do anything for you if you can't spend that time and give your family that attention.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, so that's the reason why I thought about that topic, because we really do. We put a value on success. We say, hey, it's money that makes you successful, when actually it's a bunch of different things that make you successful. So and then like another point is, say if a person can't afford to pay you, but they have lots of knowledge, right? So you become a mentee of somebody who has all this knowledge of something that you want to do. I mean, one of those things is like, hey, well, I really want to do this. This is what I want to do. Like, I'm trying to think of something that would probably constitute of what you want to do. Like if you had to, work at, I won't say a firm of like, realty
Real
firm
estate.
Or something like that, right?
Yeah,
real estate. That would be one of like, okay, well, right now, hey, we only have room for this person. So it might be a pay cut, or it may be, like I said, you just come in like an intern, so you're working for free. But then that kind of goes to another point I would like to, make. You should always focus on having that reserve money anyway for any situation. Because if you have a reserve, then you have flexibility to do more things. So like, okay, well, I want to live somewhere else. It will require me to go seek jobs in that place, which may take me a couple of months to get to it. But guess what? No one's starving in your family because you learned how to put your money away and create a reserve. And that would be like, because I know some people would probably ask, how would I be able to do this? How would I be able to work for free? I have bills. Well, that's one of those things where you have to think ahead and you have to like focus on what do you really want to do?
No, I think thinking ahead is not the problem per se, nor the solution, but maybe the conundrum that people may not think ahead, right? People stay in that specific moment that they're in, and they don't have the forethought or care enough to think to the future, right? So in simple terms, right, like a person goes to get fast food, right, because they're in a rush, or they say they don't have the time to cook, and they are either not aware, but they don't care what that fast food does for them or it does for their body in the future, right? Same with people not working out, right, for whatever reason. They only see the immediate success or immediate results, so they don't focus on those future results, right? So I don't work out for today me. I don't work out for me next month or whatnot. I work out for me in 10 years, right? I don't want to be a fat slob when I'm older, when I'm a father and stuff. I just never wanted that dad bod as I grew up. right? And
Yeah.
I think you could probably say more to it because you definitely don't have a dad bod, right? And you are a father, and you are, in your 40s, and you're still in great shape, right? Despite all that, and some people will make excuses because of that. But kind of going back, what part of your life do you think could really relate to this specific saying, right? Because I know you didn't start off straight into the military after high school, right? You went through life and then you went to the military. Was that the one of the turning points of it, or was it going from the military back into a civilian life?
Well, no, I think I read about it more or researched it more when I got out of the military. There's probably times in my life that I've picked up second jobs just because I was trying to get in a place. I remember it was this, it's like plant or something like that, because my degree is in industrial engineering technology. So I was trying to get into this plant and maybe, move up to an engineering position or something of the sort, because I didn't interview for an engineering position. I knew it was a plant. So I was like, well, right now I have a job. Let me go try to get, move around to different places. And it was actually here in Dallas. So like I was trying to, I think actually Grand Prairie. So, which is very, very close, by the way. Yeah. Yeah. So like I was trying to work at this plant, and it was literally just moving stuff. And that's literally what I was doing, moving stuff around, taking stuff off the line, putting it on a pallet or whatever it is, right? Okay, and I did that just so I can like try to figure a way. And it was just me being me, where I'm like, oh, I'm trying to create a situation out of nothing. I'm in this new city, I'm trying to like, I'm gonna figure something out. And that was probably one of the closest to that situation where I knew it wasn't paying that much money, but I was like, hey, I wanted to work it just to get in there,
Yeah, to at least start or become a catalyst of opportunity in that maybe area.
Yeah.
No, and then we brought up stuff like real estate maybe, but personally, going back to how you said sometimes there's an opportunity to gain knowledge rather than a monetary value, and I always, especially when I was younger, coming out of active duty and then going back here to San Antonio for the reserves. And, as a reservist, we only do that 1 week in a month, 2 weeks out of the year, minimum.
Yeah.
And so I ended up going back to my old 9-to-5 job, right, at HEB, working at the grocery store. But I wanted to be independent, right? And I just didn't know, I had no idea how life worked at the time. Just because I was so inexperienced, but I was willing to get hit in the mouth a few times to experience life and to learn about life.
Yeah.
So, and luckily, what happens is that my LPO, or my leading petty officer, which is like an NCO in the Army, he gave me a call one day. I was at the gym, gave me a call, and he literally just said, hey, what do you want to do with professionally? And I said I wanted to go into cyber because that's what my job is in the Navy. I wanted to continue with cyber and IT. And he was like, all right, cool. Yeah. What are you doing right now to kind of do that or promote that type of growth? And I was like, well, I'm about to start college here in about a week. And he's like, that's great. And I'm not saying don't go to college, but what he also said is you also need experience and you also need certifications. And I was like, okay, cool. How do I get either of those? And then, of course, that conversation continued on. And then he also sent me some stuff, sent me some resources. And I just thought it was a great experience. But I never asked for any monetary value from them. One, because I had nothing to give and everything to gain from the knowledge. But even after that, and I'm one of those people, you give me the rock and I'll try to get you to at least a layup, right? And I may not always hit it, but if you have enough faith in me to continuously give me the rock, I'll get it at some point. But yeah, I don't know if you've had those situations. I know you've had mentors over the years, whether it's for a specific technology, a specific position professionally, or throughout the military. But what would be another example for you that something like that has happened?
Well, it would be because I've had like a master sergeant, pull me to the side. I don't know if it was more for military career. I think because he might not have been that big on certifications, but I was always big on researching anyway and figuring out, what should I do next, especially after I switched my job. MOS is what we call it. Our job, my job in the Army, from being an electronic repairer to an IT professional. So at that time, I was trying to research more and more. Then I was taking classes and stuff like that. So the people who actually would pull me to the side would be more the people who wanted me to go further in the military, not so much for the outside. I was the one boosting myself up for the outside. So, because I came in with the degree. So they were already, you know what I'm saying? They're already happy with me because I was already a step ahead. So they can already start working with me with trying to, go up in rank. But that's one of those things, I guess one of the things I wanted to lead into anyway, regardless of, what you're doing, what you do or where you are or what you get paid, you should always be working to get better anyway. That was kind of like how I saw it. And I think that's why people who wanted to mentor me, they saw that I was willing to put in the work. Like, I think I was telling that to my wife. It's like, it's easier to mentor somebody who's already heading in a direction of, in a good direction.
Correct.
Versus like somebody you have to like coach up. You have to coach them up first, then get them going, spun up. So then you would actually see more people attracted to the person who's more of a go-getter and who's willing to help the go-getter more than the person who's like, oh, I don't know where I want to go. I don't know what I want to do. And then, so it becomes a little bit harder.
Yeah, no, I agree. And a good analogy for what you just said is that when people are, broke down on the side of the road, right, more people are willing to help the person that's trying to move their own car and trying to push it along or away from traffic than they are to the person that's just with their thumb up waiting for a handout, right? Because they know that person that's pushing the car is willing to do the work, and they just need a little bit of help. They don't need all your time. They don't need all your resources. They just need that additional little help to get them where they're going, and then they're good. Right?
Yeah.
Where the person that has their hand out or their thumb out, they're looking for a hand. They're looking for you to do all the work for them and take them to their destination, right? And that happens in life. Like you said, people that are maybe at that specific time or in that specific position, not a go-getter, but sometimes they still expect people to do all the work for them and kind of lead them into something. They don't have their own sense of purpose or sense of belonging at that moment. Going back to there's a lot of things, and I think probably more things that you can do that may not make money, but they still make sense, right? So learning, in my opinion, is, while it can lead to money, it is not a 1-for-1, right? It doesn't always equal
exactly
like what you spend in education. For example, a degree or certifications does not equal a 1-for-1 on how much you would get in the professional side, right? And in all actuality, in this time of shared information and entrepreneurship, the amount or money cap is a lot greater maybe than when it was back in the day, where they may have required only degrees or only certification or whatever it is, or maybe certain numbers of experience. But through entrepreneurship and the rise of entrepreneurship, like I said, that money cap just keeps going and going and going to where you may not see a cap. But going into that, so other than education or learning, right? Health, right? Most people, unless you're marketing out, physique, supplements, whatever it is, coaching, that does not lead to a good monetary value, but it leads to a good, maybe emotional value, right? Good sense of self-worth, and good, outward feeling, because you're always, when you look good, you feel good, right? At least that's the saying, right? And, that can be arbitrary or based on what that person thinks. But that's another thing that, it makes sense, but it definitely doesn't, not always will make money.
No, that is definitely true. Yeah. I guess, to your point, I guess going along with that, because like you said, with the studying, right? Like you have to put in the time, and like you said, it's not one for one. But then that goes to show, like, for your job, right? Your job may require you to do some outside learning. I could tell you, when I joined the team with you guys, I did some outside learning. Oh, no, and guess what? I didn't get paid for that. No. I didn't get paid for that time.
No.
Yeah. So I did a lot of, like, oh, let me check this out. Let me try this. Let me, I see a little bit of something that you guys do, then I go expand on it more. Let me find out more about it. No, I don't get paid for that. Yeah. So, you do the overtime without the pay, know?
Yeah, no, so, you definitely do. But what is the drive for that, though? Right. And in your personal experience, right? Because it, like you said, it wasn't a monetary value, right? But what was the drive to learn or to catch up to our team?
Well, I mean, the drive was one, I guess and it comes from me being in the Army. I don't want to be the one at the back of the formation, right? I want to be up front with everybody else. So, like, when, I get called on to do something, I don't have to go and find anyone. I don't have to go, yeah, let me do. No, I'll try it. Let me try it at least, before I go get help. And that's what drives me, is always being somebody you can count on, instead of like somebody you're like, I don't know about that person, Right, so by me taking the initiative and learning a little bit more or doing a little bit more makes me a better team member.
And not just a better team member, but a better person overall, right? Because that translates to other portions of life, not just, professional life. While the specific topic was for your professional life, the overall grind and the overall purpose will still carry on to other things, right? So, for example, if your kid's struggling in school, you'd more than likely try to figure out what they're struggling in and how to better help them, right? Maybe figure out what their better learning style is, maybe get them a tutor, whatever that is. But no, I think it's a good and great mindset to have. But what would you say to people that are opposite, right? Where they don't want to do things if it doesn't equal monetary value. And, like, I don't know if you've ever identified anyone in your life, or maybe through different positions that you've had, that are like that.
Well, I mean, it's like that with a lot of people. I mean, I see it in family members. I see it in, people who are friends. If once they're done with work, they're done with work. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, when I clock out, work is left behind, and sometimes you can't do that unless it's something stressful. But if it's something that actually teaches you and gives you experience, then you should probably do a little bit more. But for a person who, needs that motivation, it really becomes a mentality thing. It's just like the military, right? Everyone thinks the military will change you. No, it will not. The military will change you if you're ready to change. So you have to have a prepared mentality to, kind of that winning mentality, or that like, I'm ready to serve someone else than myself. You got to have that type of mentality.
Yeah, the mentality of servitude. And I think, some people may be true about that, but I think it's depending on the point of life you're in, right? Especially, I joined when I was 19, but I already knew what to expect overall, because I am from a military family. My dad was Army, my mom was Air Force. And I grew up in a military lifestyle. So I knew what to expect in boot camp and what to expect in active duty and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think, especially because you joined at a different point of your life, you, one, were already open to change, and two, you weren't just impressionable for no reason, right? So for like an 18-year-old where they don't know what to do with their life, or they had no guidance and they just joined the military just to join the military, they're going to be more impressionable and more not necessarily coachable, but they're going to take up those habits that are given to them, right? Whether that's in boot camp, whether that's from their MOS school, whether that's from their first duty station, right? They're just going to pick up all these habits. And as they grow older, especially between 28 and 24, right, those are very impressionable times / growth times. They're just going to continue to soak in whatever that information is, whether that's bad or good.
Yeah. Well, I believe that in a sense, when it comes to their mentality. I actually had a soldier where he was super motivated because he told me, he's like, I was really motivated doing basic training. When he got to his duty station, all he really wanted to do was do his job. He didn't want to do the other part of it. So in a sense, he was still himself, you know. So he was, I think he was willing to change if the environment was there for him to change. But since that environment that he had, like basic training, because in a sense they're kind of forcing you, right?
Yeah.
So and then when you get to your first duty station, now it's up to you. You're free again. So it's up to you to keep it going. So the things you were taught in basic training, you're supposed to keep going with it. But a lot of them don't. They kind of like, they keep some of it and then they bring their old self back.
Oh, and it's because that person, right, you know, not necessarily depending on age or anything, but like you said, mentality, right, they were not disciplined without the environment, right? The environment is what was the catalyst for that specific discipline, whether that's to work out, to show up on time, to do X, Y, and Z. But when they got out of that environment and they had those additional freedoms, they stepped back into their own discipline or lack of discipline, maybe. Because, and people can say that about some people that get personal trainers, right? Is that they would not be in the shape they are if they didn't have that personal trainer, because left to their own devices, they would just go back to chilling, hanging out, doing, maybe skipping workouts, maybe not sticking to the nutrition plan, right? And I'm not saying that's true for everyone that goes through that, but it is proven that, I think it's Heisenberg's principle, or the observation of Heisenberg's principle, where the observed changes the behavior based on who is observing them, right? So the environment maybe was not strict enough or did not incite the discipline that they required for that moment to stay within that motivational period.
So I was trying to think here because I had some more topics I wanted. I did. So I guess if you wanted to take a position too, again going along with that professional, if you want to take a position also, you don't want to be a manager, right? Or you want to have leadership skills, right? Some positions may require, they don't pay that much, right? But then it may be a check the block to reach a certain point somewhere else in your career. Like, if it's a certain position that required leadership or required, it's like for us, right? So it may require to be a Linux administrator or a Kubernetes, developer or whatever, right? Like, then it'd be like one of those things like, oh, well, I might have to take a job doing that just for a little bit so I can say I have the experience, right? Because you spent time doing it, you spent time studying it, and you were hired for that position. So then there you go. There's another spot for you, and then you just keep moving up to get, it's a certain position like, say Google, right? There's something in Google that we really wanted, but you would see this long list of things that they want for this position because this position probably pays really well. But then you don't hit all those marks, and that may be a way to get that. Honestly, I remember someone telling me about how another person quit a job. So they would get hired, go to, do everything, get hired, receive the pay, then quit the job, then go to the next job. So what they were doing was they were building up their pay. So this is the opposite of kind of like what we were saying about, like, building up your education and your experience. This person was like building up their pay so they can go and work at a job that they really wanted to work at. because they would hire them only if they were already getting paid that.
Gotcha. No, yeah, I can see that being a thing, and I've definitely seen that happen for a lot of people. They just kind of going job to job, just looking for the higher paycheck, whatever it is.
Yeah,
and regardless of role, responsibility, whatever that is, at the time. But and I think people get caught in that loop as well. I'm not saying that's a bad thing if it also has opportunities for growth, whether that's personally or professionally. And like you said, sometimes if you want to go into a manager role, it may not provide the same amount of income that a developer would provide or a engineer would provide. Not all the time, but not necessarily. But no, that does happen. There are positions where you may have to move and you may have to take a monetarily pay cut, and it may just be for that short term, because once you start learning, getting that experience, you can then go for higher positions, right? Go to like a program manager or project manager type role, go through a maybe a divisional manager, right, over multiple programs, right? So
yeah,
no, that can happen, and I've seen that happen to many people.
Yeah, that was why I went. One day we were talking, I was like, should I take a Linux administrator position? Because I was just thinking I wanted to have that strong background, and it was really, because the position that we're in, we're kind of like a jack of all trades.
Oh, yeah.
You got to do it all, but when you're like that, you can't focus too hard on one area too long, so you can gain that mastery type of, education.
I think you can, and I think that's why we're part of a team, right? Is because none of us are necessarily masters in all the areas, but you have people, like we have a couple people that are really good in Linux, right? We have some people that are really good in Python. We have good people that are good in networking, right? And they're not necessarily maybe not expert level, but they have a certain level of mastery of that, and then they just had to kind of learn parts of that, right? So, for example, we have a guy, he does development work and he does engineer work, right? And you can see that he has a certain level of mastery in programming, whether that's Python, C++, whatever it is. Yeah. But he still has a small understanding, and he's still employable and very useful to the team, just not in every aspect. And that's why, you have teammates to kind of lean on, right? And like one of my favorite questions that I ask when I conduct an interview is that, are you more of a team player or are you more of a solo person? And for me personally, the way I would answer that is that I'm both, right? But the gist of it is that personally, I am probably more productive, but I know that with a team, I can do more, right? Because I am a distraction to myself and probably others around me. But so I know that I can focus on one thing and I can just keep hitting that one thing and continue to go on, and things will continue and tasks will be completed. But as a team, I can delegate those tasks and I can grow others, and then they can grow others, and it can cascade more into other people.
Yeah. That makes sense. Because you kind of need both. Because it means that you can be responsible for yourself. If you can work with a team and you can work by yourself, that means you know how to manage yourself, right? So you're not gonna go like, oh well, this work needs done, but nobody said anything about it, right?
Yeah.
That you know that, like, okay, you need to get completed. So let's get it completed, especially if you have free time. If you don't have free time, then that makes sense, right? But and then as a team player, you want to be able to mesh well with others. You don't want to have conflict. You don't want to have this big ego with like, no, I'm the best. I could do this way. I don't even want to check my code. You know why? Because my code's the best. Even though that's what your team is there for, is to check behind you to make sure you got a perfect code, regardless if you wrote it perfect in the first place.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, but it's people like that.
No, there definitely are, and it is ego. it really is ego. Is that, they feel like they are, hot shit. They feel like they somehow got some sort of blessing to be this all-star, and everyone else is maybe below them in that specific area. But then, when you start to talk to those type of people, whether that's another big ego, right? There are ways to, I guess, show them humility, not to humiliate them, but to show them how to be more humble and have more humility. And I think that's it. I think that's the biggest thing for me personally, is that I try to be as humble as possible and humiliate myself, or have a sense of humility to not think I'm the best, right? And to accept other people's help and guidance and words of wisdom, whatever it is. But, that could also be people's, like I said, personality could be different, right? So,
yeah. But that's the point of a team, right? A team is different personalities, different life experiences, different education backgrounds. That's the whole point of the team, And I guess when I said it, was because I wanted to be strong in that area, is more of a personal thing. So it wasn't to be, the guy for the team. I wanted to be like, well, I've seen this before, so I can put in my input. When you haven't seen much, it's hard to put in input, so like you don't want to discount yourself, because regardless, you may still have good input, but it does give you confidence when you know that, oh, I've seen this before. Oh no, I've done this before. So that's where I'm coming from with the whole mastery thing, is that, and then some more personal projects or anything like that. Just like I was learning Python, it was just so I could do personal projects on my own. But when you're really good at it, you're not always Googling everything, right? You're Googling some things, but not everything. Yeah. And then I was, again, back to that mastery. That's why I wanted to be that way.
Oh yeah. And sometimes you could be in a situation where you don't have something like Google around, and you have to figure something out like within a second or within a split second. So it's definitely good growth, because if you have to Google something, you now become dependent on something else. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having some sort of dependency, but you should not always be dependent of something or someone.
Yeah, because it becomes, which Google is like an encyclopedia, but it becomes your encyclopedia of your information, instead of like, you have your little book that you always write everything down when you you troubleshoot or whatever. Now you're turning to some type of other program or other browser or whatever, right? Search engine. There you go. I mean, that's what I was trying to get to. Yeah, some type of search engine to help you with your situation. And like you said, some of the areas that we're in, we can't even get to a computer, but we got to still figure it out. So
that happens a lot, especially in our job. But kind of going back to it, I had another question, but I forgot what it was.
Yeah.
Did you have another topic you wanted to?
Oh, well, no, we could keep talking on that, because it was just certain little points I wanted to make, about why, you should consider, not always looking at the pay, but looking at what you can get from it. So, and that's where it comes from. If it don't make dollars, or if it don't make money, sometimes it makes sense. That was, like I said, back to what I was thinking. I was like, what if, I took some type of position like that? Just, it may be a cut, but guess what? I'm gaining some experience. Yeah. And and like I said, in my personal life, I'm learning not to, spend all my money, Yeah. I know society tries to scare us with this whole statistic that people don't have $40 or $400 in their savings account to carry them over to the next time they get paid. I mean, it may be true, it may not be true. We don't know, right? Yeah. But in reality, you should always have reserves, regardless. Because people have been doing this for years. I mean, now they make it a thing and call it an emergency fund, but people have been having reserves, and that's how they're able to invest in other things, right? So, and then which allows you to seek another opportunity, which investment is an opportunity, gaining more education. So if you wanted to be part of a franchise, because you had reserve money to live off of, now you can go to the school and learn how this franchise is ran. And now you can be, the owner of this franchise. And if it's a high volume franchise, you're going to be making good money regardless. But it still took you doing some type of sacrifice where, okay, well, I saved the money and now I'm going to go for 10 weeks, go to training, not get paid. And on top of that, you're spending money because of the fact you're borrowing money from the bank. You might not be spending your money exactly, but you're borrowing money from the bank to help with this project. So, and all in turn requires, again, that reserve, that sacrifice, and then, seeking out that opportunity.
Now, what would you say to people where they have the mindset of only immediate gratification, right? They don't have the mindset of delayed gratification or delaying gratification in general, right? Specifically for money. How would you swap that person's mindset? Like, hey, I'm just trying to get a job so I can make enough money for me now and I can do whatever I want right now.
Well, and I think, yeah, exactly what you're saying is it's that instant gratification. The only way to do that would be to just live like a minimalist for a while, right? And I think that's everybody's fear because then they consider that poor, right? And which a lot of us are in training to be a minimalist, because a lot of times when you go to college, you don't have a lot of money. When you're first starting your life out, you don't have a lot of money. So if you can learn how to control your spending at that time frame, when you start to make more money, you don't spend that money, right? Because then again, because you're, I think I was saying this to one friend, it's like one of those things like you've been starving for a long time and then finally you get some food, you eat the whole plate, but it makes you sick, right? And then the sickness is like debt and all the other stuff that comes along with like not paying attention to how much money that you're spending. But for someone to fix that mentality, it has to be one of those things that they are ready. Because I can talk to family members or talk to some friends, right? But they still don't see what I'm saying because it violates their reasoning of what they think you should do with your money. So yeah, again, it would have to be they're ready. So you can't completely change someone's mentality. Like I said, the only way is to live without for a while, but not able to touch your money. So you still got to go to work, but you still got to live at the bare minimum, right? You got to you buy a car that's a cash car and you just get it worked on. Like, hey, let me get all these things fixed on it, brakes, whatever, get oil change. And you drive that car till it dies. Right. And that's one of those things is like, okay, you're not trying to go and buy a brand new car. Yes, you can afford the payment, right? But guess what? You can afford that cash car. So if it gets wrecked, if it dies or whatever, then it really doesn't hurt you as much as if you were out, if you got a car repossessed, I say. I say that could be one, it's not the worst thing that can happen to you, but it is a thing that can kind of set you back. So, and I mean, when it comes to that, again, it's the person's mentality. They would have to see something in their life. It has to be something that resets them, right? Because I think it took something to reset me too, to understand like, you know what? I don't want to do this again. And I was like, to feel, because it was a point I had messed my credit up. And it was literally because I did not pay attention. I thought I was doing the right thing because, that's what everyone else was doing. If you have a good job or if you have the money, right, you should be able to spend it the way you want to spend it. But then it's not true. You should have some responsibility in yourself and for your money to create a new opportunity. And then that's why I like listening to other people who are big on investing when they say, don't spend your earned income, spend your investment money.
Yeah,
So
never
like
spend
after
the
you,
principal, always spend the interest, right?
yeah, exactly. So like once you've, once your investment has started to make you income, use that income to purchase some of the things that you want. Because you still have the asset that's left behind. So that's why a lot of people talk about real estate, because that's one asset that keeps growing in the process. And the cash flow, if you weren't trying to build up your real estate portfolio, you could take that cash flow and pay for your car note. And your earned income is still over here in a reserve pile, so you can deploy it to go do something else.
Yeah, no.
I think, again, it's all mentality.
And I think like one way to swap people's mentality is find something else that they value, right? So say if someone values health and they value working out and they value having a certain aesthetic, right? You could put it into that point of view, right? And you would tell them, think of money like you think of your workout routine, like you think of how you treat your body, how you treat your nutrition, right? Is that it's not everything came immediately, right? Those biceps, those abs, they didn't come within a month. They didn't come in within a couple months. They came in within at least maybe a year, however long it was. But it took that amount of work to build it, and it's going to take even longer to keep it, right? And that would be the same for their money, right? It takes time, it takes work to build up a reserve, emergency fund, whatever people want to call it, to gain assets, right? And you will not see the immediate gratification or immediate results right now, but you will see a cascade of it in the future. And maybe that'll just start them to envision what that future looks like, specifically in the realm of money.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's definitely discipline. I mean, because especially when you can afford, and I say afford is okay, you can have a car note of something of a nicer car, more expensive. You kind of always have to like remind yourself of your goals, right? Right now I have a goal not to buy a new car or anything, or expensive car or anything like that for 5 years, right? It's a personal goal for me, because I want to take the money that I would normally spend on this car note, right, and that extra insurance, and I want to put it in my reserves so I can deploy it at the end of the year for some type of investment I want to do. So like, it's definitely discipline, because when you think about it, when someone pulls up to work or someone that passed by you and it's like this nice Cadillac Escalade, or because another car I like is the Audi RS5. I really like that car. Right. And I see this nice, shiny, brand new car, and I'm like, man, I know I can afford it, because I can put this amount of money down, and my payments will be like this. And I know I'll get this interest because I have good credit now. And then it's like, you're putting in all this work to do this when you should be having your assets pay for your liabilities, But you got to switch that brain, and it takes a minute. It's hard for some people, especially if they've been set in their ways for a little while. It's usually better to meet people who are already ambitious and ready to go and do this, versus like people they've been doing this for a long time. They've learned how to stay in the rat race. I'm going to work this job, and it's the job, and it pays my mortgage, my car note, my all the things that they like, and they get stuck in that. And that's where they are. But when you try to tell them, hey, you could do this, man, they don't want to hear that. So it's one of those, you gotta, it would have to be like one of those over time, like introduce it to them over time to get them to change their mentality. Because, or like I said, what I told you, if something happened where they have to reset their life, some type of crazy event, and it resets their life, and they realize that, oh man, I wasn't good off as I thought. Especially if you lost a job and you still can't function without that job, and so then for sure that your process was broken,
And I think the reason why a lot of people's mentality won't necessarily change like immediately, unless something drastic happens, right? They lose a job, right? Sorry. They, for something happens and they have to shovel up a bunch of money, right? Is that they're in this stage where they're fairly happy with their life, but and nothing bad enough has happened to force them to change, right? And they're not creating that environment for them to continuously change or see something better growth wise.
Yeah. No, that is true. And just like how you were saying about working out, again, that person has to have that inside of them, right? If they have the lazy person inside of them and they're not ready to break that person, scoot that person away, it's going to be hard for them, right? A person who's always admired people who are healthy, bodybuilders, not to say all bodybuilders are actually healthy. They look healthy. They look fit, right? But if you, not say idolize, but if you kind of like, you like to look up to people like that, or you like to research people like that, then it's a lot easier, right? They're going to change quickly. But a person who has lack of motivation, who I rather sit and watch TV and eat gummy bears, right? Like if that's that's something they do every day or every other day or whenever they have downtime, then talking to them about working out is going to be a whole lot harder. They can say what they want to do, but once you put their foot on the treadmill or on that trail and then say, hey, this is what we're doing every day. We're only going to do it for 30 minutes and we'll see what your progress is at the end of the month. And then we'll try something different. It takes a minute. All right. Same with the military. Like everyone knows the military part of your job is to work out, but there's people who are lazy that come in, they still don't want to do it. You're like, this is your job. They literally give you time out of the day to go work out and you don't want to work out. So again, it has to be in you somewhere and that's the reason why I listen to other podcasts where they always talk about tricking the mind, right? You have to find out, kind of like, how can you put that carrot in front of you to make you do it? So
I think a lot of people, when they set goals, even if they may not have that mindset, or even if they do, right, they set a goal, say in fitness, to lose a certain amount of weight or have a certain type of body composition, that they don't realize what they actually have to sacrifice to get that result, right? And sometimes they're not willing to make that sacrifice. They're not willing to, run an extra 30 minutes a day. They're not willing to cut off like an extra 200 calories out of their nutrition or diet, right? And then they kind of fall into that where they're doing things and they're not seeing anything, but because they're not sacrificing what it takes to get that specific result. Yeah.
No, and that's why they need that carrot. They gotta have that what do I get at the end of this, right? And it's probably because of society. We're driven for results, right? We're not driven for that underlining what are we fixing in the process, right? But if you have great health, you could have longevity of life. If you care about your health, you could also reduce your chances of having a stroke, reduce diabetes, reduce a lot of different things because you are willing to change your life, to become that healthy person. But until someone sees that, like, oh, this does fix me, again, they have put it up as a result instead of like, oh, well, if I do this over time, I will reduce my chances of having this, right? Which requires, again, like the reserve account. Over time, I'm gonna put this money away. Eventually I'll have this pot of money that I could use for something else, right? Or I have this pot of money that's there for me if I was to lose my job, and then boom, I'm just gonna survive off that for a little bit, enjoy my life a little bit. And again, it all requires, as you said, a little bit of sacrifice. And then you gotta throw that carrot. You're like, hey, this is what you will get if you do this. And it's hard to see it. I mean, I think when I was younger, it probably been hard for me to see too, because again, when you that instant gratification, what would you rather do? I want to go drink with my friends, right? Yeah. Why would I want to put a pot of money over here? Yes, I have money saved, but it wasn't to be my parachute or be my net, you know? So yeah.
And I think a lot of people with that type of mentality is that they kind of just focus on that moment, and they don't know how to be resourceful enough to reduce that expense. Right. So, you know, going, like, I'm not saying you can't have those leisures of going out with your friends and hanging out and doing what you want to do, but you need to figure out ways to, like, kind of, I guess, hack or life hack it. Right. So you want to go drinking, maybe go during a happy hour where it's, you know, a little bit cheaper. Right. Maybe order something that's not incredibly expensive and just be there to have a social time with them. Right. It doesn't have to be about the material, but you can still have the experience and time with those people or in that moment.
Yeah, it probably too, just trying to break that awkwardness of actually being there, hanging out with people and not drinking. You know, you might like, oh, let me grab a soda or something like that, or a glass of water. I remember one time I literally had no money, and I had to, I wanted to not miss out on someone's party at a restaurant. I mean, I couldn't afford to eat. So literally I just, you know, was there to, you know, to support the person having the birthday. Right. So I mean, I think I was offered something, but I was like, no, don't worry about it. You know, I mean, to me, that was kind of like my punishment. Right. I should have done better. I should have figured something out. I should, you know, and again, that's part of that pain that helped reset my life. Right. Or like especially when I was getting ready to get out of the military, I was like, I don't want to have to deal with that ever again. Right. And I was like, so I'm going to learn how to have some money on the side. My credit is going to be really good. So like, you know, and then I would learn how to use my credit properly, so I won't be overwhelmed if I was to lose my job. Now I have all this minimum payments that I got to pay, because I know people always say stuff about like, oh, I have all this debt, this credit card debt after I lost my job. Well, in reality, all they ask you to do is pay the minimum payment, right? Yeah. So usually your minimum payment shouldn't be extremely high unless you have a serious problem, right?
Yeah, no, that's true.
So like, so you know, if you were to lose your job and you still had some credit cards, you had your reserve money, you would just make those minimum payments from your reserve money. And, you know, but it's always better to be one of those people who know how to control it. So you got a lot of people who pay off their balances at the end of the month. It seems like it gets a little hard because I've actually tried to do it. And, you know, I just end up paying the statement balance, right? Because especially if you use your credit card for your expenses and you don't spend your money in your checking account, and you're kind of like diverting, turn your credit card to the checking account, because it's that buffer to save you from getting hacked from somebody, right?
Yeah.
But you know, and that's why I would say it kind of gets hard for me, like, because of what's going to come out is the statement balance. So like I have it set like, hey, just pay the statement balance or whatever. I think American Express, I think you could set it to just pay the full balance, whatever it is, right, at that time, or something like that. Yeah. But if you used it on like as your expenses, but if you use it for your expenses, you know, normally your expenses come in like every day or every other day or however, right? However, you spend, because it could be groceries, it could be your electric bill, it could be, you know, however it is, right? So that's the reason why I kind of diverted and went over there, because that part to me gets a little hard. So I just set it to statement balance and call it what it is. And then, and that way it's like a balance, right? Okay. But I still going to charge any interest, but it pays, it just comes from my checking account and just pays that off.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and then, so kind of going back to that restaurant situation that you were talking about, what would you tell people that have maybe been in the same situation, but they did take the handout and they didn't let that situation, or they shrugged off that situation and they just continue to do whatever they normally do, right? And, you know, one of my, maybe not favorite songs, but one of the favorite song from Usher is "Let It Burn," right? And
Yeah.
you gotta let it burn. Well, I'm pretty sure it's a sexual song because it's Usher, right? But I think what people don't do is they don't let moments like that burn. They shrug it off and they make excuses for whatever it is, right? They're like, oh, I don't have money right now because such and such something came up, whatever it is, and they'll take whatever handout is given to them. What would you say to that person? Like, how would you get it in their head to let those moments burn and kind of rethink those moments?
Yeah, and it's kind of that's kind of hard because it still requires that person to listen, right? That mentality. So what I would say, to that person is like, you should take responsibility for whatever's in your life, right? That's like the biggest thing. If you don't take responsibility for the things that happen to you, then you would never learn, right? So as a person like that would probably divert it and say, oh, well, like you said, this came up. They took too much money out of my account. They or something like, or the reason why they got a negative, or reason why they put that responsibility on somebody else and not themselves. Not them saying, oh, well, I didn't balance my checking account properly, or I ran up all my credit cards, so now I don't have any money, or the reason why I didn't have a job at that time was because of my situation, right? I allowed this to happen, and because that's what I found in myself. Once I started taking more responsibility, that's when I saw things change. Because at that point, when you take responsibility, now you come up with a new way to fix that situation. Okay, well, since that happened to me, all right, now I made a plan so that won't happen again. But if you don't take responsibility, then you're not going to come up with a plan, and you're going to allow it to happen again. So you're not learning from your history of your life,
And so on to that. So remember, we were watching Jurassic Park last night, right? And I haven't watched it since it fucking came out in the early 90s. But rewatching it, there's a scene, right, where the guy that owns the entire Jurassic Park, he talks to I forgot, name's Midri in the thing, but he's the guy from Seinfeld and stuff. But the guy from Seinfeld, he has like monetary or financial problems, right? But the guy that owns the park, he's telling him, he's like, I don't blame people for their mistakes, but I at least asked them to pay for them, right? And it was just such a small, short little scene, but to me that was astronomical in mentality wise, right? And it's true, right? Like, people make mistakes, it happens, right? But guess what? Just because it happens, and maybe it may not have been your fault, you still have to pay for that mistake, right? You still have to go up and figure out what happened, right? And it's okay that it's not your fault, and it's okay that it is a mistake, but you can't just say, oh, it was my mistake, and then toss it to someone else, right? So in financial situations, it is your mistake, right? It is your mistake. You can't expect someone else to take responsibility for your mistake. You have to pay the piper. You have to go and pay your dues for that mistake.
Yeah. And it will get painful because you could be put in a terrible situation, but guess what? You still got to say it's your fault. And and if you don't get, like you said, you will have to pay in some type of way, regardless. It's going to keep repeating itself. You're just going to keep paying over and over again, or you can get smart, take responsibility, and then pay one time and never again. And
when you go pay over and over again, like a credit card, it compounds, right? If you you pay it all up front, right? It maybe not always goes away, but it's remediated to a good point.
Yeah. Now, I was trying to think of other situations that I've, been in where I've had to take responsibility. But
I don't know.
Like Yeah, go ahead.
So like one of mine, right, is, I wanted to be independent when I came back from active duty. So I moved out of my parents' house, but I didn't have any plan, right? And I had just started college, and I was working at a job where I was making $1,200 a month after taxes, right? But I lived in a place where it was over $800 a month for rent, right? And that's including utilities, right? So energy and water, right? And it didn't include groceries, right? So I had to, but I had to take responsibility for that. I couldn't go back to my parents, and I made sure that I couldn't go back to them and ask them to start paying for that. I was an adult at that point, right? I had to take responsibility and pay my dues and figure it out. So I did have to struggle, right? I didn't have a lot of food. I didn't turn on the AC. That thing was off all the time, right? I suffered in the heat. I suffered in the cold. But I let all of that situation continuously burn me to where I didn't want to live like that anymore. And I knew I was the person that had to figure it out because it was my mistake or my ignorance / ego that wanted to do this, right? And I'm not saying it was a bad decision, but I'm saying that there would have been probably a better way to do it. It's just not the way I took. So that's just a
think about it. If you had but to think about it, if you haven't did that, or if you didn't try that, right? How would you know, right? But because you tried that, now you have something to build off of to know next time, okay, I'm gonna try this differently. And guess what you did? You took responsibility for that, right? That taking chances, there's no ever a reason to apologize for taking chances. You take chances and you learn from your mistakes and you move on and you try something different because, all right, yep, that didn't work. Now I'm gonna do something different now. So yeah, when it comes to taking chances, that is totally different than someone not taking responsibility for themselves, right? Now it's terrible if they take chances all the time and never kind of like, have this internal lessons learned. But they're gonna probably always make bad mistakes, right?
Yeah. They don't learn from those mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if you're a person who's doing investments or doing real estate or whatever, you have to learn from your mistakes. If not, you're gonna be out a lot of money or just completely broke. So no, taking chances. To me, that was you showing that you wanted to be an adult, that you were taking initiative and you wanted to take your charge of your own life. So learning from the different things. Yeah. Because the same thing. I had to deal with that with, I'll turn the AC off all day. You know how like some people like to condition their home while they're away. When I live by myself, everything off. And I mean, my electric bill was extremely cheap because if I'm at work all day, if I'm working 2 jobs, what reason do I need electricity running besides for my refrigerator?
No, same. Yeah. The same at that time, at least. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I got nothing else. Unless you got.
Yeah, I know. We we did pretty good. I think we definitely hit an hour on this one.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, yeah. You want to close it out? You want me to close it out?
Yeah, no, I close it out.
All righty, brother.
All right. This is Jay and Craig signing off the Troubleshooting Podcast. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.